What's going on, everyone? My name is MikeO, and this is my reveal video for my ultimate Phillies Topps team set. This is a project I've been working on for 3 years. I'm thrilled to have it completed. I'm excited to share it with the community of collectors out there. This is the most meaningful portion of my collection. It represents a snapshot of Phillies history. It represents the entirety of Topps baseball cards history, and it's just something I'm absolutely thrilled and excited to have. It's something that I encourage other collectors out there to perhaps pursue. Go out there and try and complete your team's team set. I think you'll really enjoy it, have a lot of fun, and really get to experience all eras of Topps baseball cards. So with that being said, this is going to be a lengthy video. We are looking at 7 decades of baseball cards, so I'm going to jump right into it. So we start off with the 1951 set, and this is a little bit of a different set. These were more cards for a game. Some people don't include them in Topps Run. I do. It's a 6-card set for the Phillies, highlighted by Richie Ashburn, Hall of Fame ball player, and also a longtime Phillies announcer, so very well known in Phillies history. We also have Dick Sisler down there on the bottom right. That is actually the final card I needed for this run, for this set. So really happy to have these all as part of this collection and part of this set. After 1951, you have the iconic 1952 set. Really the first look at the more standard sized cards. These are larger than other years, but still just an incredible set. Very nice. Never been my favorite set personally, but still a really nice one, of course. Again, we have a few Phillies Hall of Famers here, Robin Roberts and Richie Ashburn. So beautiful looking cards. And they do have some variations to the backs. You have gray backs and white backs. I really didn't worry too much about that. I just wanted to build the standard sets overall. So here's another look at some more players. Eddie Waitkus, popular player. And then there were actually some high number short prints. So here's a few here. These cards can get a bit expensive, even in rough condition. And if you want them in great condition, they're going to be very, very expensive. To me, I just wanted a copy that was fairly clean. To me, the old style cards, the super old vintage cards, I like the eye appeal of centering and no serious creases through the face and stuff like that. They can be a little beat up and been shown some love over the years, as long as they still look really, really nice. So 1952 Topps. Then after that, we had 1953 Topps, which, again, beautiful set. One of my favorite sets. Fantastic looking. You see the selection of players. It's just really, really neat to see how these teams have evolved over time, how they changed year to year, and the designs of cards. That's all part of what makes this an amazing project to me, and something that's really, really neat to kind of, I think if you are really into the old cards and the new cards, I mean, if you do both, you get a real appreciation for the evolution of cards and how they've changed over the years. 1954 Topps, another really nice card. You have the little photos along with the bigger shot of the player. You have the facsimile signature, the logo, kind of a lot going on. But that was just part of the evolution there. And we have another Richie Ashburn there. He was a constant there for years. Just an absolutely great ball player, of course. Continues to roll along. Some sets were bigger than others, of course, year to year. We also have coach cards, which is actually kind of neat, especially when there were a lot of older players. Be something that would be somewhat interesting if they brought back from time to time, maybe in cards, but not something I expect to see happening at any point in the near future. And we move on to 1955 Topps. Another nice set. I mean, most sets are nice. There's very few I dislike. Some you like more than others. Here you have a little bit of a larger photograph for the action picture. Then a nice close-up of the player as well, so you get a real good look at what they looked like. So a nice selection of players here. Just really interesting to see these guys who showed up from year to year. Unlike the new style teams that kind of change, just pretty constantly. 1956 Topps. You also have some team cards. So really nice cards here. Again, really nice designs. Really neat to look at. I mean, I can say the same thing year after year, decade after decade. Just beautiful looking cards, and it is really great to see. It's fantastic to enjoy the cardboard, enjoy the cards, enjoy the history. Some more 56 cards. Richie Ashburn up top. Robin Roberts. Granny Hamner. Del Ennis. Del Ennis, a fan favorite for sure. Kurt Simmons. Kurt Simmons. Andy Semenick. Just look at these guys. And you can think back on the history of, relatives who would watch these players, who saw them live, who listened to them on the radio, who, I'm sure Bobby Morgan was a favorite player for someone. So you can kind of relate that to the modern stuff. 1957 Topps. It's a set that I absolutely adore. Love the simplistic look of them. Just think they're fantastic. Love that Richie Ashburn card there right in the middle. Absolute beauty. It would be great to own a high-grade version of that card. I think that would be really neat. You see Bob Bowman to his left. Page number 2. Let's kind of continue with those similar teams. Mac Burke. Cool catching pose there. Love all those old posed photographs there at the old ballparks. Very, very nice. This was a relatively large set. You can see all these different players there. Robin Roberts got the middle treatment in this page. 1958 Topps. A lot of color in this set. A lot of beautiful cards. You see here again, Robin Roberts, Richie Ashburn, just constants year to year with the Phils. Dave Philly, fan favorite. Bob Bowman there. Ted Kaczynski. Wally Post. Wally Post with the Phillies card. Dick Farrell. Topps did some different colors here. You see the blue and black, a few orange and yellow. So we've seen Willie Jones for a while here. He's been in a whole large number of sets. 1959 Topps, another fan favorite set, an iconic set. Really cool. So that's coming up here. You get the NL Hitting Kings with Richie Ashburn and Willie Mays, the team card, Ace Hurlers. Really, really cool there. Another Ashburn and Gene Conley. Ruben Amaro, his son would end up becoming a player, following in the same footsteps as his father with the Phillies, and eventually worked his way up all the way to the general manager title. So it's just history of this organization. Got the Sporting News Rookie Stars of 1959. That's nice there. Frank Herrera and Bob Conley. George Anderson. Very, very cool. Big time name there. Set continues to go. Yet another page. Green and blue and light blue and black. Love the different color backgrounds. Just think they're really, really nice. 1960 Topps, a set that I think I personally underappreciated for quite a while, but recently I've really gotten into them. Just love the color scheme, the letters, just crazy colors all over the place, a variety of colors, nice photographs, dual photos on these cards I think is really neat. So, very, very nice. You just take a look at these cards, they're just cool. It's hard to say so much about them. I want to give some thoughts on the cards, but I kind of catch myself just staring at them and looking at them and enjoying them. You see Johnny Callison on his way to the Phils there with that Phillies logo. Art Mahaffey rookie. He's been a staple of the Phillies family for a long time, still doing signings to this day. So that's really neat there. There's another George Anderson for you. I'm sure many of you know him. Few other cards here. Some big-time cards, honestly, here. You've got Dallas Green, who would spend decades upon decades in the Phillies organization as a player, a scout, a coach, a manager. Robin Roberts, of course, a Hall of Famer. Kurt Simmons. Got some Phillies coaches there, so that's a neat card. Al Dark. Dave Philly on a sheet by himself. A binder page. All right, move on to 1961 Topps. Starting to see a little more variety here. Got Dallas Green, Tony Gonzalez, Tony Taylor. There's a team card, another Art Mahaffey. Jim Coker with the Rookie All-Star Cup, so that's a neat one there. Tony Curry, another all-rookie team, Topps team. Most valuable player in 1950, Jim Constanti. He got a card in this set. Robin Roberts, Ruben Amaro again, Gene Mauch, the manager. Then we got Johnny Callison, who had some great years, was definitely a fan favorite for sure. Had himself a big all-star game. Some very, very nice cards. 1962 Topps, the wood panel. Dallas Green right there in the middle. He was a pitcher for the Phils. And then we've got Ted Savage and Frank Torre. The Phillies have notoriously had kind of the wrong brother. If you look at their history, it's just speaking facts. They've done it time and time again. Not that some of the guys weren't good players or pitchers. Their brothers were just a little better. Let's continue to just check these cards out. They're pretty neat. Really cool. Got the team card and then the rookie parade. So they would, in later years, they would do dual rookie cards and triple rookie cards, but once upon a time, you would have 5 players on a rookie card, so they really kind of did everything they could to load up that set. Another beautiful set here, just really nice. Gene Mauch, the manager. Would like to see Topps go back to doing a few more manager cards. I'm not saying they have to do it every year, but every couple years would be cool. They are part of the history of baseball, part of the team. Sometimes they can be big time, and I just think it's a cool feature to have, especially when you get ex-players that end up becoming coaches. I think that would be an added bonus. Wes Covington, he's actually one of my dad's favorite players back in the day. Got the 1963 Rookie Stars. Made sure I added those to it if it featured a Philly. Bobby Wine, Jack Hamilton, Tony Gonzalez, Billy Claus. Cookie Rojas, guy did it all. Few more cards here, including one that's pretty tough. Not super well known for the Philly in it, but I'll zoom in a little bit there. You've got the pitching leaders to the left, you got the team card in the middle, and then you got the 1963 Rookie Stars card, which I picked up for the John Herrnstein, but most people purchased that card for the Willie Stargell down there in the bottom corner. So that one was a little more pricey. Not that I don't enjoy having a Willie Stargell in the collection. Love that. But that card cost quite a bit to add to the collection because of Willie Stargell. And they're tough to find. That is a tough card to find, even in a low grade. So here's the iconic 1964 set. Love this set. This is definitely one of my favorites. Absolutely fantastic. Look at that Johnny Callison card right there in the middle. Beautiful. Love that design. Just think it's iconic. Couple rookies there in the middle, including Richie Allen, better known to some as Dick Allen, potential future Hall of Famer. Many argue that he should be in the Hall of Fame. Unbelievable ability. You have Gus Triandos, who the Phillies ended up acquiring. If you guys are fans of the show The Wire, you'll probably get the Gus Triandos little Easter egg. But these cards are awesome. Check out that Ray Culp with the Rookie Cup. Beautiful. Jim Bunning up top. Dallas Green in the middle. Rick Wise with the 1964 Rookie Stars there at the bottom. Beautiful cards. Move along to 1965 Topps. We've got Jim Bunning, the team card, Tony Taylor, Frank Thomas. Not the Hall of Fame Frank Thomas, but a good Frank Thomas. Another just sweet page of cards. Really cool. Pat Corrales rookie card. He'd be in the Phillies system for years as a coach as well. Rick Wise to the top right. Cookie Rojas, I mentioned him earlier. He was the type of guy who could do it all. Played everywhere, every position. Really good player overall when you look back at it. And check out that 1964 home run leaders card. Johnny Callison was third, right behind Willie Mays and Billy Williams. So that's pretty cool too. You get some little nuggets of history when you go through these with the leaders cards. It's a Richie Allen all-rookie team card, so that's nice. 1966 Topps here. Richie Allen, cool card. Enjoy the poses. The poses, especially at the stadium. I just think it's a cool backdrop. Beautiful pictures. You know, I like some action shots from time to time as well, but I think these pose shots work really well. You know, I don't love the headshots necessarily for most cards, but I do think this design and these photographs do look outstanding. Jim Bunning, Gene Mauch still coaching. Johnny Briggs, he's now at this point been on the team for a few years. Got some more rookie stars here, including Fergie Jenkins, Hall of Famer. Another guy the Phils moved on from a little too quickly. Grant Jackson, rookie. You got Roger Craig as well. He ended up managing in the big leagues for quite a while. Next up here, we have 1967 Topps. Another cool-looking set. They did go with a lot of those close-ups, just kind of like the full-face photos, but some pose photos as well. Nice cards. Really, really nice set. Like the Hurlers Beware card here in the middle. Very, very cool. Johnny Callison and Richie Allen. You also have the National League Strikeout Leaders card. Jim Bunning right behind a guy named Sandy Koufax, which I'm sure you've heard of. So, really nice 1967 cards. There are high number cards within as well. Some of those got to be a little difficult to find, but if you look hard enough, you will find them. And you can get them at a pretty reasonable price. There's a few more from that 67 set. Ruben Gomez, National League Rookie Stars. Bob Uecker, just a iconic personality in baseball. He was with the Phillies for a few years. That Jim Bunning, I believe, is a high number card. Got Chris Short, really good pitcher. Check out those National League RBI leaders, Hank Aaron, Bob Clemente, and Richie Allen. So when I speak of Richie Allen and how highly so many think of him, it's for good reason. The guy was a fantastic player. Kind of put up with a lot of stuff over the years as well, but just had himself a great career and was an amazing talent. He's right there with the home run leaders as well, right there sandwiched between Hank Aaron and Willie Mays. And then one last 1967 card here. It's Cookie Rojas. That is a high number card. That's actually the second to last card that I needed for this set. So it was the last one of the last ones I needed. And just so many times I tried to purchase it, actually picked this one up slabbed and then broke it out because it's a binder set. So that's what I wanted to do with it. Moving on to the beautiful 1968 design. I know some people don't like these. I actually like the burlap cards. I just think they're really neat. I think they look outstanding. It's cool. I keep repeating myself again, saying that it's a cool set. It's a beautiful set. It's a nice set, and that's because that's what I think of it. Rick Wise, Richie Allen, Dick Hall, Larry Jackson. Just really cool cards. And I'm appreciating the heck out of the history of these top sets and the history of these players and teams. And it gets even more meaningful to me and a little more emotional to me once we get into the later 80s and all the players that I actually grew up watching. So that's, again, one of the things I talk about this set. There's layers to it. There's layers to collecting. You know, you want to respect and enjoy and love the history, but you also want to collect, enjoy, and love your own history and players that you saw. You don't want to have to limit yourself to certain things. But moving on, just Johnny Callison, more rookie stars. Really neat. Always like to just see players represent it. Whole bunch of batting leaders here. Tony Gonzalez in the batting leaders. Jim Bunning leading the league in strikeouts. Jim Bunning right up there, one of the pitching leaders. And a few more here. 1969 Topps, just yet another sweet set. And sometimes you really get reintroduced to these sets through the awesome Topps Heritage product, just a product that comes out every year that's extremely popular, that I think just really helps get newer collectors into some vintage cards. So really nice set here, including Johnny Callison, Tony Taylor, just some fantastic players. There's another Richie Allen, some more rookie stars. Not all of them became stars, but they all made the big leagues, which is pretty impressive and part of Phillies history in its own right. It's the last four for the 69 set. Pretty sure Rick Joseph is the exact same photograph from his 68 card, which Topps has had the tendency to do over the years from time to time. 1970 Topps baseball. Jim Bunning right there in the middle. You got the Don Money to the right, the rookie cup. Some rookie cards, including Larry Bowa, guy who would go on to play for the Phillies for a decade plus. Would be a longtime coach with the Phillies organization, a manager with the Phillies, a scout. So Larry Bowa, an absolute fan favorite for sure. Here's a Chris Short. It's a cool set. This is a Tim McCarver, longtime announcer, good player with the Cardinals and Phils. This is actually a 3-binder project. Obviously, going to a 4th binder shortly with upcoming sets, future sets coming out. There's Rick Joseph right there in the middle, finally getting a card in uniform, getting a little different photo. So that's neat. Mike Ryan to the left. He's a longtime Philly. He was a coach for quite a while back when I was a kid. A few more here. 1970 rookie stars. Oscar Gamble. And then Grant Jackson in the middle. And that moves us into 1971 Topps. This is a really tough set with the black borders. You see Larry Bowa right there in the middle. He got the all-rookie cup treatment, so that's really nice to see. Jim Bunning, Tim McCarver up left, so some solid players here. Chris Short, who had a really nice career with the Phils. And some rookie outfielders. Right there in the middle, you got the Greg Lazinski rookie. Very cool. He would go on to be a really good Phillies player. He was the type of guy who, hit 300 home runs, a great slugger. He's the Phillies Wall of Fame player. Not a Hall of Fame caliber baseball player, but he was a Phillies Wall of Famer, which, right there you made an impact on an organization, and that's all you can ask out of a player when you develop them. Willie Montanez, Rookie Stars card on this next page. Rick Wise. Some pitching rookies. Don Money. Few more cards for the 71 set. And then we move into the 1972 set. They definitely were in the times there with the crazy colors and the different font up top, but it's all part of Topps baseball card history, so you enjoy them. You see the in-action card for Rick Wise, so that was a neat little thing they did there. Oscar Gamble down there on the bottom. Another all-rookie cup card there for Willie Montanez. Greg Lazinski getting his first solo card. Chris Short. Billy Wilson, Ron Stone. These are names that I'm sure so many get to enjoy and bring back memories of watching either down at the ballpark or on television, maybe listening to on the radio, maybe just collecting cards. We included the Topps traded cards here. And there you see Steve Carlton. They went out of their way to let you know that he was traded. That big stamp on it. It's pretty cool. Moving on to the 1973 set. This is actually a set I always really enjoyed. The borders are a little big, but I just liked them for some reason. And this is a beautiful set. The team's continuing to build here. You got Steve Carlton right there in the middle. You got Larry Boa to the left. Mike Anderson, Tom Hutton, Bill Robinson. Just a cool set. Move on. You got Danny Ozark and the coaches. Ozark was the manager. His last name is actually the same last name as me. Did change it. His family changed it. Mike Ryan, Greg Lazinski, Jim Lonborg, who was a great pitcher for many years. You got some victory leaders there. Steve Carlton leading the way. You have the random action shots like that Dick Selma card, which is pretty cool. Of course, you also have a pretty nice rookie card there right in the middle. Mr. Mike Schmidt on that right side. To the left is Ron Say. To the right is Michael Jack Schmidt, who would go on to become one of the greatest, if not the greatest player in Phillies history. And he's right up there with the greatest third baseman of all time. Hall of Famer. Beautiful, beautiful card. I was actually thrilled to pick that up at a really good price. And it's not in awful shape at all. It's just has great eye appeal here in the binder. 1974 Topps. See Danny Ozark and the coaching crew there got their own card once again. Bob Boone, Steve Carlton. You're really seeing that 1980 team develop here. You're starting to see them come together, which is something that I find very cool and very neat. Mike Schmidt, his second year card, his first solo card. Very cool. Probably down there in Clearwater. Spring training. He got an action shot of Larry Boa. Greg Lazinski in the dugout, just kind of hanging out. Dave Cash. Mike Ryan. There's a few more 74s, including the Trade It set. So there's some guys the Phils acquired during the season. And that leads us into 1975 Topps, a set that has crazy colors everywhere. Some people hate it. Some people love it. I actually like it. I think it's neat. I think it's something different. And it's something I would love to see Topps continue to do. Change things up. give us some different designs from year to year so they have their own identity. Take a chance here and there. But Mike Schmidt in the middle, beautiful card. Home run leaders with Dick Allen. You got Lazinski and Larry Christensen's in the picture now. Nice Larry Boa card, the team card. Eddie Watt. Wayne Twitchell. Bob Boone. Generation of family of players there. Willie Montanez and Steve Carlton. Dale Unser. Fantastic cards. Just absolutely beautiful. So that's one binder, 1951 through 1975. And now it's time for binder number 2. We head into binder number 2 with the 1976 Topps set. Again, the 1980 Phillies, the first team in team history to win a World Series. You see that team continue to come along. Mike Schmidt in the middle, and Bob Boone, Tim McCarver, Dave Cash, Tom Underwood getting the Rookie Cup action here. Greg Lazinski, Tug McGraw makes his first appearance as a Philadelphia Philly. Larry Christensen again. Randy Lurch with his 1976 Rookie Pitchers card. Steve Carlton again in the middle. Larry Boa to his right. Johnny Oates, who ended up being a manager in the major leagues, down there on the bottom. Jay Johnstone up in the top middle. Gary Maddox is on the scene. Got some other cool cards here. Got the Sports Extra with Jim Cott and Ron Reed. Got some rookie pitchers. Really interesting cards here for this 1977 set. Steve Carlton and Mike Schmidt and Tug McGraw, Greg Lazinski, some serious star power. Another Boa card, Terry Harmon, Gene Garber. Jim Cott again, Bob Boone, Jim Lomberg, Danny Ozark still at the helm. 1978 Topps, another Tug McGraw card, Carlton, Gary Maddox. Bake McBride, Mike Schmidt, Dave Johnson. And again, a Larry Boa, Terry Harmon, Bob Boone. You're really seeing the team continue to develop and evolve. 1979 Topps, NL All-Star Greg Lazinski, Jim Cott, who had a great career. Love that Topps logo as well on the cards. Bud Harrelson, longtime Met. Bob Boone, there, posing with the catcher's mitt. Rich Hebner, really good bench player. Then we move on to 1980. This obviously an iconic Phillies team for Phillies fans out there. Steve Carlton's All-Star card, Lazinski, Manny Trio, Dale Unser, Tim McCarver, Larry Christensen, Dick Ruthen. Mike Schmidt getting the All-Star treatment as well. Gary Maddox with the fro coming out. Bake McBride. Pete Rose, part of the Phillies team at this point. Big piece that helped get them over the hump. Got the 79 highlights cards in the 80 set. Tug McGraw, who would make that final pitch to clinch the World Series over the Kansas City Royals. Some rookie cards there, including Dickie Knowles, who certainly played a big role in the Phil's victory. And then the final card is Greg Gross. 1981 Topps. Things are going to continue to change, of course. Over time, players change and teams change. In this set, Greg Lazinski with the big glasses on. Larry Boa donning the mustache. We got Gary Matthews, Sarge, George Vukovic. Steve Carlton with an all-star card. Really sweet Bob Boone card here, making the play at the plate. You see Tug McGraw again. Warren Brewster, Lonnie Smith, Manny Trio, Sparky Lyle, Bob Walk. Ended up pitching for the Pirates for a long time, but got his start with the Phils. Dickie Knowles again. Keith Moreland. So a lot of times, of course, Topps is a little behind. You have guys who come up late in the season, so oftentimes a contributor for one season, they're shown off the following year in cards. But here's a record breaker set with Mike Schmidt and Steve Carlton and Pete Rose, so the Phils with a lot of record breakers. Mike Schmidt as an RBI leader. And of course, they got a card to celebrate, being the National League champions and the World Series, clinching the World Series, down there on the bottom right side. So really neat cards there. Of course, some Future Stars cards as well. Then comes 1982. This is the first set that was produced in my lifetime. I was way too young in June of '82 to appreciate these cards. But here you go. Here's the design, here's the set. Mike Schmidt there in the middle, and Larry Boa, Tug McGraw, Del Unser, Christensen, Gary Matthews, Bob Boone, Lonnie Smith, Greg Gross. Still a really good team. A team that would end up winning the pennant the following year. When you have Hall of Fame players like Steve Carlton, Hall of Fame caliber players like Pete Rose, it certainly helps. When you have guys around for a while, they can develop. Some in-action cards with Larry Boa and Mike Schmidt, Pete Rose, Bob Boone. Whole bunch of leaders cards as well. Marty Bystrom. Sparky Lyle again. Bob Dernier, one of my personal favorites. He had 2 stints with the Phillies. I remember the second stint and just loved watching him. Mike Krukow. Bo Diaz. Next up, the iconic 1983 set. A set that is instantly recognizable. Got the nice little photograph there in the circle. Then the action shot above. Very cool set. Really nice Steve Carlton and Tug McGraw there. Pat Corrales being the manager. And I made that comment about manager cards. It would have been really neat to have a Dallas Green manager card in 1980, but unfortunately there wasn't one. Got some all-star cards here with Pete Rose and Mike Schmidt. John Denny with that card on the top right. Gary Matthews, Manny Trio, some of the highlights here. Then some record breaker cards featuring Manny Trio. Then some super veteran cards with Pete Rose and Mike Schmidt and Tug McGraw, guys who had at this point been around for quite a while. A few more all-star cards. When a team succeeds, you tend to have more all-stars. So we see Manny Trio and Steve Carlton getting their all-star cards. Von Hayes, I believe, is part of the traded set, and Joe Morgan as well, Hall of Famer. Had a little stint with the Phillies there. Just really nice. I did go ahead and add all the update cards. Al Holland, he had some big years. You can actually see over here, the update cards have a different back to them. And I think update cards are important to add to a set like this, for sure. So we have the 1984 set, really nice. Paul Owens was the manager, longtime farm director. Got Pete Rose and Von Hayes, who was one of my favorites in the late 80s. Carlton, Maddox, Gary Matthews. Of course, some of the players from the championship team started to decline a little bit, and the team is just tough to win multiple years in a row. The Phils also tried to patch some things together with some veterans like Tony Perez featured there. A great player who wasn't necessarily at his best at that point in time. We've got Steve Carlton and Schmidt with the All-Star designation. Charles Hudson. 1983 highlight of Carlton. Whole bunch of leaders here. NL Active save leaders. We had Tug McGraw up top. You had Pete Rose with the batting leaders. 83 strikeout leaders with Carlton. Whole bunch of little subset cards in this set. And, you know, I think those are really neat cards because it really just, it's a little snapshot of history at that point during that season, that time in baseball. Few more here. Marty Bystrom, Jerry Koosman. Another Joe Morgan Phillies card. Would be excellent to get one of those signed at some point. Juan Samuel comes into the picture. Starts to get some of these guys like him and Bob Dernier that I really remember watching. A few more 84s up top before moving into the 1985 set. With Schmidt and Carlton, a couple really awesome cards there. Juan Samuel, record breaker. Most stolen bases for a rookie in a season. Really nice Tug McGraw card there. Kevin Gross, remember him a few years later. Al Holland. Mike Schmidt All-Star card. Von Hayes. Jeff Stone. Kiko Garcia, can't say he's a well-remembered Philly. It's a nice Gary Maddox. Another Juan Samuel, Larry Anderson. He would actually end up coming back and being part of the 93 Phillies team. Kent DeColvey, the big sunglasses. John Felsky, Don Carmen. 1985 Topps, you got the Dave Stewart rookie card. That has always stood out to me. I remember being a kid when Dave Stewart was great, like back in 1990 with the A's, and just being so jealous that he wasn't with the Phillies and they had given up on him. It's a nice Mike Schmidt, Gary Maddox, Don Carmen, guy I remember, John Denny. Another Von Hayes and Juan Samuel, Jerry Koosman, Kevin Gross, he was a pitcher with the Phils. And finally, we have Steve Jeltz, who honestly wasn't a very good player, but did stick around with the Phils for a number of years. Darren Daulton, his first card with the Phillies, ended up going on to become an iconic Philly. Number of great seasons. Ozzie Virgil, team leaders card. Kent DeColvey again, once again, with the Shades. Then Steve Carlton and Steve Bedrosian, Milt Thompson as well. After 86 comes 1987. You get the wood panel cards. Set I certainly remember when I was a kid. I started collecting in 1989, but of course you would grab all the sets from the recent years. You got Darren Daulton there again, down at spring training. Von Hayes, Shane Rawley, Steve Bedrosian. Bruce Ruffin got that rookie cup there when it came back. Mike Schmidt, All-Star card. Mike Schmidt basic card as well. Mike Maddox, brother of Greg. Juan Samuel, Milt Thompson, with these powder blues everywhere on these cards. Glenn Wilson. A few more 87s here, including Lance Parrish, who was a guy the Phillies went out and signed and really never kind of performed as a Philly the way they had projected he might. But cool card nonetheless. 1987 Topps, which moves into 1988 Topps. Always love that Mike Schmidt card with the warm-up jacket on, swinging the bat at BP. Yeah, and there's just an array of players I grew up watching. Todd Froworth, I remember him. He had a really interesting delivery. Of course, Darren Daulton. Don Carmen as well. We go back with another Von Hayes and This is a cool set. I always really liked 88 Topps. It was one of the first sets I personally, like on my own, without my dad's help or anything, tried to put together. A few all-star cards here with Steve Bedrosian, who would go on to win a Cy Young Award, Juan Samuel, who had some great seasons, Shane Raleigh. A few more 88s here. Wally Ritchie. I remember he was involved in a brawl with the Phillies. I think somehow he got cleated in the stomach during the brawl. Juan Samuel in the dugout. A few more 88s. These were kind of leading into the lean years. The glory days of the early 80s had come and gone, and it was kind of rough for the Phils there for a while. 1989 Topps, an iconic set for me. This is really the first product. The first pack of baseball cards I ever opened was 1989 Topps. I love the look. I love the design. It's got a lot of meaning to me. It's extremely nostalgic. Just personally a huge fan of 1989 Topps baseball cards. Nick Leva's the manager. He didn't work out too well. Von Hayes. You got that awesome Darren Dalton card. That Schmidt is beautiful. Always loved the 89 Schmidt. Ricky Jordan. He was a big prospect there and actually had a few solid years with the Phils. Big contributor on that 93 team. Ron Jones, Don Carmen, and Bruce Ruffin. Kevin Gross and Jeltz and Phil Bradley. Greg Harris, Mike Maddox, Steve Bedrosian. Keith Miller, Milt Thompson, and Lance Parrish. Again, this is where the nostalgia really falls in for me. We're getting back to the point where these are players that I actually do remember watching. I remember watching on TV, seeing at games. These are cards I remember collecting right out of the pack. It's part of the history of this team and part of the history of Topps baseball cards. But it means a little more when it's something you grew up with. So here's some more players. I always liked the Juan Samuel. Never loved this Bob Dernier card, though. Now we move into the Trade It. These are the Topps Trade It from 89. And the Phils were not good in 1989. They made some wholesale changes at the trade deadline. And that started the formation of what would become the 1993 Phillies. As you see, they acquired Lenny Dykstra and John Kruk, both whom would become iconic Phillies. Dickie Thon, he's the first player I ever got an autograph from in person. Tom Herr, who had a nice career with the Cardinals. Well, for some reason, my brother Tom and I really liked Tom Herr. We enjoyed watching him play. He was only with the Phils for a couple years, but I remember he got like a starting lineup figure and a few cards. And we just always were Tom Herr fans. Randy Reddy, he was great on some of the Phillies' old video yearbooks. A few more 89 Topps traded up top. Roger McDowell. Steve Ontiveros, former Oakland Athletic. And we move on to 90 Topps, another set I remember growing up with. Definitely went hardcore with the colors here. Bob Dernier, I believe that's his last card. He would retire shortly after, if I remember right. Marvin Freeman, a guy the Phillies saw a lot of potential in. Steve Lake, backup catcher. Again, Ricky Jordan and Dickie Thon and Tom Herr. Jason Grimsley. John Kruk. Nick Leva's final card with the Phils. Randy Reddy. Pat Combs. Brilliant young left-hander. Guy the Phillies really counted on big time. Sweet turn back the clock card there with Mike Schmidt. Terry Mulholland, his first Phillies card. Terry Mulholland's my all-time favorite. Was at his no-hitter. Just had great memories of watching him pitch. He was left-handed just like me. Loved his pickoff move. Followed his career into the 2000s. He played for a number of teams. It's a sweet Von Hayes card. These cards don't have a lot of value, but value only means so much. It's an important part of the hobby, for sure. you want to collect certain things that you pay a lot for. You want them to have value. But the value in terms of enjoyment is every bit as important. You see here Charlie Hayes, who was the third baseman who replaced Mike Schmidt. Now it's Dalton and Dykstra. Some guys who were big-time members when the Phillies finally did reach the postseason again. Dave Hollins, this is a Topps traded card. He was another big-time member of that 93 team. Jeff Jackson, the number 1 pick. Didn't work out. Certainly didn't work out the way the Phillies would have liked. They could have done better. They left a few really good players on the board. Go check out baseballreference.com. It's pretty fun to look back on. It's 1991 Topps, the 40-year anniversary. It's a nice design. I always liked it. You see Mike Lieberthal down there. That was a number 1 draft pick. It worked out. There were a few players that had better careers that they could have selected, but, I mean, you can't ask for much more than having a 12 or 13-year career, winning Gold Gloves and making All-Star games. I mean, Mike Lieberthal was a really good player. Unfortunately for him, his career took place with the Phillies between 94 and 2006, which is the exact gap of the Phillies not making the postseason. Tommy Green down at the bottom, he would be a key member of the 93 Phillies. Wes Chamberlain as well. It's a really nice set. Love that Terry Mulholland card. Mickey Morandini. Dale Murphy. I can't tell you how excited I was when Dale Murphy became a Philly. You know, at that point I was young. I knew he was towards the end of his career, but was still just so excited for the Phillies to have a superstar player added to the team. John Kruk. Another Dalton. Nick Leva, he actually did get another card. He got 3 cards. He was replaced by Jim Fregosi during this season. There's a Mitch Williams. There's another Jim Fregosi. Phillies had 2 manager cards that year. This is part of the Topps traded set, but Jim Fregosi would end up leading the Phils to the pennant in 93. Tyler Green, draft pick card. He was another guy who really never lived up to the hype. He actually had one good half season where he made the All-Star team, and then things slowly fell apart. You might recognize Wally Backman up there at the top right. He's got quite the temper, been a minor league manager for years. Member of the 86 Mets. 1992 Topps. Again, you're seeing that 93 team continue to form. Kim Batiste, who had a big hit against the Braves in the NLCS down there on the bottom right. Dale Murphy's still around. Mitch Williams. Mickey Morandini. Pat Combs still hanging around at this point. Dickie Thon. Just names that just bring back a lot of memories of going to games at Veterans Stadium. Von Hayes, final year with the Phils. Dalton and Hollins and Dykstra, all-star players. Topps traded cards. We got Ruben Amaro, who came up. We saw his father quite a ways back. He had some cards with the Phillies. Right there, Curt Schilling, huge acquisition. Big-time member of that 93 team. Future Hall of Famer, you would think. He certainly belongs there. Mariano Duncan, also acquired. And as you can see, you have different uniforms. Ricky Jordan and Darren Fletcher featured in the old school Phillies uniforms. And now the current Phillies uniforms, they changed this season. And the Topps traded cards featured them in the new uniforms. And of course, we move into 93 as well here. 1993 Topps, nice design. Amazing season for the Phillies. You see Dale Murphy there in his final Phillies card. He would not be on the 93 team. He was traded during spring training to the Rockies. Played there for a short while before retiring. We got a lot of other cool names here. Guys I remember, Stan Javier. He had a nice little cup of coffee with the Phillies. Had a good career. Ben Rivera only pitched a few seasons, but was a fantastic number 5 starter with the 93 Phillies. Won double-digit games. Got a cool combo manager card there with Jim Fregosi and Buck Showalter. Kim Batiste, Ricky Jordan, the Crucker, who became a national star, really, during that 93 season. Todd Pratt, who was the backup catcher. Mariano Duncan just had some unbelievable hits. Grand slam against Lee Smith. Schilling and Dalton. Dave Hollins. Pete Incaviglia was on this team. Great contributions. Mitch Williams, who had a great season. Obviously, he's well remembered for that home run given up to Joe Carter. Horrible memory for Phillies fans, but hey, it's part of history. It's something that happened. Not a whole lot you can do about it. But really, I mean, when you look back at it, Mitch Williams had a really good career with the Phils. '94 Topps. Sad year for baseball fans since baseball went into that strike. Didn't even conclude the season or have a postseason. Super disappointing, but again, it happens. It's happened. It's done. No reason to kind of dread on it, but I always kind of like the 94 design. You see some more 93 Phillies here who weren't represented the year before. Mike Williams. And the team kind of slowly dissolves at this point. Dave West, he was a contributor to that 93 team, as well as Danny Jackson and Kevin Stocker. Future star of Tony Longmire. He didn't end up being a future star. Roger Mason and Don Paul. These guys were made in 94, but were big contributors to that 93 team. Unfortunately, through aging and such, that 93 team, I mean, it wasn't something that was going to be long-lasting. And they slowly kind of broke down and then moved their separate ways. It's a cool Darren Dalton subset card, Measures of Greatness. Sweet Ryan Sandberg commemorative card. Wayne Gomes draft pick. He actually had a few okay years with the Phils. Some Topps traded cards here, including Doug Jones, Heathcliff Slocum. 1995 Topps. Interesting little design. Interesting borders, I should say, more so than anything. Another nice Dalton card. Bobby Munoz down there in the bottom. He was actually who the Phillies acquired for Terry Mulholland when they moved away from him. Billy Hatcher. These were the years where you started getting into the guys who were around for like a year or two, just kind of filling pieces. You see the Ricky Jordan and Kim Batiste cards there with the blue helmets. That didn't last long with the Phillies. They tried to do a daytime blue helmet kind of deal. Didn't last. I don't think it even lasted the full season. They also, I don't know that they won a game with wearing those. It's a Kevin Jordan rookie down there on the bottom. He's another guy the Phillies acquired in the Mulholland trade. Charlie Hayes came back at this point. Got another card with the Phillies. Ricky Bottalico, Star Trek card. He had some nice years. Most memorably for me, he was actually the Phillies representative in 1996 at the All-Star Game, which took place at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. Greg Jeffries, acquisition the Phillies made. You know, he was okay. He actually had a few great moments with the Phils, including hitting for the cycle in a game on national television against the Dodgers and phenom Hideo Nomo, so something I'll never forget. 1996, Topps really started shrinking their sets there for a few years and made far less cards. I think it was 96 and 97. Here's some of the Phils they did make. Star Power, Heathcliff Slocum. He actually made an All-Star game with the Phils. Jeffries and Dykstra was still hanging around. though he was extremely injury-plagued. Ricky Bottalico. We have a few more 96 cards, and then we have the 97 team set starting, which was very small. Of course, Schilling's still around at this point, and Dalton. Jim Eisenreich, who was just an awesome player. The 97 set, you see Greg Jeffries and Benito Santiago, who actually hit 30 homers for the Phils. Ricky Otero. Ricky Otero is probably not remembered by many outside of some Phillies fans. He's a short little guy, really quick. You got Kevin Stockard, Mike Gray, Sid Fernandez hanging on. He was with the Phils. Schilling and Rowland. Ken Ryan, Wendell McGee Jr. So then 97 moves into 98. You got the Rookie Cup for Scott Rowland. Rico Brogna, he had some nice years. Mark Leiter, his son would go on to play for the Phils. 97 season highlights for Curt Schilling. 98 set rounds out with Garrett Stevenson, Greg Jeffries, Morandini, Bobby Abreu making his first appearance. Had himself a really good year and career. Curt Schilling, before moving in 1999, very similar looking set, same color borders. You have Mike Lieberthal and a strikeout leaders card for Schilling. Pat Burrell comes onto the scene, so that was pretty cool. First kind of piece to that eventual 2008 team. And of course, Doug Glanville, who had a nice career at the Phils. Scott Rowland and Abreu. Brogna, Ron Gant towards the end of his career. Jeff Brantley as well. Those are guys who were good players. Just were kind of at the end of the line with the Phillies. It's Pat Burrell from Topps traded. So after 1999, we move on to binder number 3. New century, new decade, new binder. Binder number 3. 2000 Topps. Andy Ashby, Marlon Anderson, Desi Relaford, Lieberthal, Paul Bird. He was a nice comeback story who reached the All-Star game. So the Phillies in the early 2000s had some good players. Rico Brogna was productive. Curt Schilling was still great. But the team they struggled. They were still rebuilding. They would begin a string of winning seasons in 2001. Got Brett Myers coming onto the scene. Guy who would be a contributor big time in 2008. Omar Dahl in the Topps update card. He was part of the package that was acquired for Curt Schilling when they traded him to Arizona. Bruce Chen was really excited when the Phillies got him because he was such a big prospect with the Braves. See Brett Myers and Pat Burrell getting some prospect cards. 2001 Topps, Terry Francona manager card. Lieberthal and Glanville. Kevin Sefcik. Not a name that most will recognize. Pat Burrell got a Rookie Cup card. Mike Jackson made his appearance back with the Phils. I don't believe he pitched. I think he actually got injured and never saw the field other than spring training. Jeff Brantley, still with the Phils. Randy Wolf, he had some nice years, reached an All-Star game. Starting to see more of that 2008 team start to build up and come into the picture. Jimmy Rollins, his first single Topps card. Ryan Madsen as well. Boa is the manager of this team. He's part of Topps Update. Travis Lee, another guy acquired in that Curt Schilling trade. 2 Brian Hunters. Phil's actually had 2 of them one year. So, nice set. Again, Topps changing it up, going green for a while. I don't mind the cards. I wouldn't say they're my all-time favorites, but don't mind them. We see some 2002 Topps get started here. That gold border. They're prospect cards. They did a lot of draft pick cards in the base top sets for a while, which, in all honesty, not a fan of. Just far too many guys who really never made an impact at all on the major league level. And don't have a whole lot of business being in a Topps team set, but it's not much you can do about it at this point. See, Bo is at the helm here, 2002. Phils would go on a string here of winning like 83 games, 85, 86 games year after year for a while. Jimmy Rollins with the Rookie Cup. Ricky Bottalico still around at that point. But they had some good players. Abreu and Randy Wolf make some all-star games. Robert Person up there, top right. He actually had 2 home runs and 7 RBIs in a game. Still remember that day. Ricky Leday, he actually caught the final out of Kevin Millwood's no-hitter. Turk Wendell. Didn't work out super great for the Phillies. Dan Plesac, he's with MLB Network now. He was a Phil for a few years. See that cool Scott Rowland card commemorating his Gold Glove Award. Jose Mesa, for a while, was the all-time saves leader for the Phillies. Jeremy Giambi, another of the lesser brothers. Vicente Padilla, he was part of that Schilling trade as well. He had a few solid seasons. Travis Chapman, you see there on the right. He actually only got 1 at-bat in his Major League career. Last game at Veterans Stadium. Remember being there. Then you have a large selection of prospects. Got most of who never made the majors. Gavin Floyd did, though. He was part of the Aaron Rowan trade. 2003 Topps. Really cool card there in the middle. It's a prospects card featuring Chase Utley's first Topps card along with Gavin Floyd. 2003 being the last year at the Vet, the Phillies opened up their pockets a little bit. In the offseason, they signed David Bell and brought Jim Thome aboard. They brought back Todd Pratt, I should say, who was part of that 93 team. Cole Hamels also got his draft picks card, so that's a beauty there. Jimmy Rollins, Bobby Abreu, Burrell and Lieberthal and Mesa, Randy Wolf. Just names that you saw day in and day out as a Phillies fan. As you move into Topps Update, you get that Kevin Millwood card who they had acquired via trade, and that first Jim Thome Phillies card. Really cool. Man, that was a thrill when the Phillies signed Thome. It was just so unbelievably exciting. Absolutely awesome. And we move on to 2004, which brought back the white borders. This was the first year the Phillies played at Citizens Bank Park. You still have this kind of same crop of players, but they are continuing to evolve towards the playoff teams that came starting in 2007. So Rollins is getting some more experience. You still have mainstays like Mike Lieberthal. There you have a Chase Utley card by himself. Of course, some other players still playing. You see the Veterans Stadium in the backdrop there. You can see the Kevin Millwood no-hitter highlight card. See the Veterans Stadium home run fence there in the back. You had a lot of these guys like Roberto Hernandez who were only there for a year or so. Bobby Abreu still hanging around. Really like the South Philly Sluggers card on the top right. It's Jim Thome and Mike Schmidt celebrating what they had done at that point in time. Jim Thome coming to town, hitting in the high 40s in home runs, something that hadn't been done since Mike Schmidt was around doing things. Billy Wagner there in the middle. Brought that blazing fastball for a few seasons to Philadelphia. 2005 design, probably a little bit of a step back from 2004. Again, those big oversized borders, the foil nameplate. You know, and there's just so much going on that the photographs on the cards are quite small. So, not one of my favorite sets, but still an enjoyable set to collect. Just because it's not my favorite doesn't mean I dislike it. See some big names there with Utley and Thome. Jason Michaels, he was around for a little while. Corey Lytle there in the bottom corner. He was with the Phils for a few years before his trade to the Yankees and then his tragic death following the postseason. Got Kenny Lofton. He was like a staple of the 90s, big star. A lot of kids, a lot of people my age, back when we were kids, we were Kenny Lofton fans. He had one season in Philadelphia with the Phillies. Cool prospect card there in the middle with Ryan Howard and Cole Hamels. Two obviously they turned out to be two big-time players in the history of the Phillies. Big parts of the championship run. See John Lieber and Michael Tucker. These are Topps traded cards. Cool highlights of Bobby Abreu from his home run derby victory. So that's pretty neat. Still see some more of those prospect cards, draft picks. Charlie Manuel, of course, manager of the Phils. So these 2005 Topps updates at the top with Endy Chavez and Ugueth Urbina. Before we have the 2006 cards. Got another combo card there. Philly Fanatics. Burrell and Lieberthal. Then we continue to see it kind of evolve here. Utley and Myers and Burrell, these guys, Ryan Howard, all became the core of the team. Guys like Jim Thome were moved. And it was a shame to see Thome go, but it was just kind of the move you had to make. Ryan Howard just kind of came into his own, and there weren't room for two first basemen. So Ryan Howard, Rookie of the Year highlight card there. That's really neat. Then we get a whole bunch of all-star cards, because at this point these guys had become really good players. So you had Howard and Utley. Howard with the home run derby performance. Cole Hamels, labeled rookie card there. He was actually in Bowman as well, 2002. Got Jeff Conine. He was a player I loved growing up. He's one of those guys that when he became a Philly for a short period of time, I just thought that was awesome. These ones with the yellow writing, that's actually part of an exclusive team set. I believe they were available at Veterans Stadium. So it was something that you didn't have to add to this team set, but I felt like I should. There are a lot of players that were made in that weren't made in the base team set. So you got Rick White. He was a reliever there for a short while. Fabio Castro. He was a prospect they had for a short time. They actually used him in a trade for Matt Stairs in 2008, so that worked out really well. Tom Gordon, Chris Coast, Arthur Rhodes. Some guys who had solid careers and had a nice impact on the Phils for a while. Now we move to 2007. This is the year the Phillies finally broke through. They reached the postseason for the first time in 14 years. And these cards are okay. They don't look bad. They're not my favorite. They're definitely hard condition-wise, very sensitive with the black borders. There's edges and corners. The slightest little touch can just create a chip. But you see here, Hamels and Utley, Tom Gordon. That guy was just unbelievable when he came up. Nice Jimmy Rollins card. Classic combo of Rowand and Rollins. Another Charlie Manuel card. Freddie Garcia, who unfortunately was pretty much injured the majority of his Phillies career. Shane Victorino in town. Became a huge contributor. Chris Coast, great story. One of those guys who was in his 30s and made the majors. Just really nice guy and fantastic player. Get some more highlights cards with Ryan Howard, Home Run Derby, and Cole Hamels making the All-Star team. Some kind of guys like Francisco Rosario, who just got a cup of coffee at the Phillies, but kind of immortalized as part of this team set. Antonio Alfonseca, his 6 fingers on both hands, so interesting little thing. Bit of information there. We see Jason Worth, clean shaven without the long hair on the top right. Jay Happ, who's just turned into an excellent pitcher. Greg Dobbs, fantastic bench player for a few years there. Key contributor with the Phils. Carlos Ruiz, finally getting himself a card. And then we have a few others from Topps Update. Tadahito Iguchi, he was a nice little pickup when Chase Utley was injured. You get the classic combo with Utley and Ichiro. Another Ryan Howard home run card. And then I included a few cards from Topps opening day, which featured variation. It's white borders, but I felt like the Philly Fanatic belonged. And there was Chase Utley. Move to 2008. Again, it's another year that they really went heavy on the borders. Now, I like borders, and some of the newer sets don't include borders. This one, again, is just a little much. They could have shrunk the border size down, especially that top nameplate, and that way you get more photograph on the card, which would include a little more color. But this is a beautiful set. This team went on to win the World Series. Charlie Manuel, the manager. Carlos Ruiz got that rookie cup treatment. You got Kyle Kendrick and Victorino. Brad Lidge, of course, was an epic pickup. Brett Myers. J.D. Durbin was not a huge part of the team, but played a little bit. Jamie Moyer. Tadahito Iguchi. You got Jason Worth again, and Hamels and Pat Burrell. Jimmy Rollins and Utley and Howard. Tim Leahy didn't make much of an impact. Not sure if he even actually pitched in the majors. Adam Eaton was with the Phils for a while. Wes Helms was actually part of the 07 team, not the 08 team, but he still got a card, which happens often with Topps. Got a really cool classic combos card of Howard and Utley. Then some league leaders cards. An Utley card with the 5 home runs in the home run derby. I actually included an Utley Topps Chrome card, just like a little variation there. Some Topps update cards, which includes Brad Lidge for the All-Stars. J.C. Romero and Utley an All-Star card. Then you have Chris Coast, Eric Bruntlett, part of that team, actually hit a home run in the 2008 World Series off of David Price. Jeff Jenkins, longtime Brewer, had a big double to start off the second half of Game 5. Pedro Feliz spent 2 years in Philadelphia. Reached the World Series, both of them. Joe Blanton hit a home run in the World Series. So really cool cards there. So Taguchi is the final card from that set. I have him on the top left-hand side of this. And then we move into the 2009 design. Solid design overall. Again, they were kind of stuck in the rhythm of white borders, but the borders aren't so big here. You have Manuel and Hamels and Worth and Burrell, Rollins, the same crew of players. A team that would go on to win the pennant yet again for the second consecutive year. Of course, there's some postseason highlights from 2008. Cole Hamels, who was MVP of both the NLCS and the World Series. Victorino, who had a monster home run in the divisional series off CC Sabathia. Matt Stairs, who had an epic blast in Dodger Stadium. And of course, that World Series card featuring Brad Lidge celebrating. And then all the usual suspects, the guys who at this point had become synonymous with the Phillies. These are a lot of guys who got a lot of national attention for playing in the postseason, 5 years in a row. Classic combos of Howard and Rollins. Of course, 2009 update features the Pedro Martinez Phillies card. Awesome card, just so cool. I'm hoping at some point to get one of those autographed for the collection. I just think it would be cool. Raul Ibanez, who had a big first season in Philadelphia. Chan-Ho Park, who had a really solid season in Philadelphia. Pitched great. Get some all-star cards as the players became more popular. You have the 2010 set, which includes the really big team name there. Phillies right across, but the design's pretty solid overall. You have some more playoff contributors for the Phillies in this set. Ben Francisco had a huge home run in the postseason, and Cliff Lee got a Phillies card. Of course, Roy Halladay was on the roster at that point, so great to see Doc in a Phillies uniform. Have the franchise history card there. Harken back to that 08 World Championship team. Raul Ibanez got his first Phillies card. Ibanez had a really good first season with the Phillies and solid afterwards. Of course, Ryan Madsen, he was a longtime performer with the Phillies. Big-time pitcher in the postseason. Victorino, an absolute fan favorite. Jason Worth, Kyle Kendrick, Howard, Roy Oswalt ended up being picked up. See, the Phillies kind of kept building as the team just got a little bit better. They would go out and make those acquisitions, both in the offseason and in season. They were kind of consistently, you could count on them picking up a big name at the trade deadline there for years. Dominic Brown rookie card. He was supposed to be part of the next generation of Phillies. Unfortunately, Really never put it all together. Had like one decent season, really one good first half. Included a few extra cards here. These are some of the limited variations. Try and include those in the sets as best as possible. Some of them are factory exclusive, some are just short prints, so try and do my best to pick them up. So there you see a second Halladay and Howard and Worth and Rollins. Then you have, of course, the Fanatic, who's always included nowadays in Topps opening day. So I always include the opening days that aren't made in the regular Topps set. I always toss them in. And then you have 2010 Topps, or 2011, I should say, which includes Roy Halladay and the Halladay postseason no-hitter. Moyer and Lidge, Oswalt, Dom Brown, Kyle Kendrick, Utley. Utley there looks like he's at Fenway Park. Hamels and Lee are still around. Joe Blanton, Howard, Michael Martinez. He would later make the final out of the World Series in which the Cubs finally won. He was with the Cleveland Indians at the time. You see Hunter Pence with the Phillies. He was there for a short while. Halladay with an All-Star Game card. Michael Stutz. He was a promising young pitcher at one point. Then unfortunately injuries caught up with him. This is where things start to go downhill a little bit. 2012. You still have the Fanatic card and Halladay and Utley, but unfortunately guys start to age a little bit. Some of the key members like Jason Worth moved on. You start to have in more fill-in type of guys like Juan Pierre, who of course Juan Pierre had a brilliant career, but at this point was a little older. Ty Wigginton after Ryan Howard sustained his serious Achilles injury. Of course, Jim Thome came back, so that was kind of a thrill for a portion of a season before he ended up being moved back to the American League, but had a huge walk-off home run. There's another Thome card. That's his base card. Nate Shearholt's one of the guys they got once they had moved on from Hunter Pence. That's an update card. The Pence is the base card from the set. Get some variations here in the following year. A couple Ryan Howard photo variations that are excellent. The photo variations from Topps they're cool. I like them a lot. They're usually excellent photography, but they do make it a little tougher to build these sets if you're trying to be as completist as possible. That's what the Utley is as well. This is a 2013 set. You still have some of the veterans like Halladay and Rollins. Of course, they're getting up there more, but you can see there's more complimentary players like John Mayberry and Darren Ruff, Tyler Cloyd. Cody Ashe, Kyle Kendrick still around, but getting older. Delman Young, not a long-term Philly at all. Jose Contreras kind of towards the end. Michael Young, also towards the end of his career. John Lannon. But that's what happens. Things move along. Things don't last, can't last forever, of course. But really nice set of cards. And again, it's a little snippet of history. Steve Sustorf, he was not a long-term Philly. He was one of those guys who probably got called up at some point in like July for a few days and then recalled in September. It's a 2014 set here. A.J. Burnett. Of course, Utley's still around. Marlon Byrd came back to the Phillies. Guy like Jonathan Pettibone. A lot of ability. Again, injuries and pitchers, they kill so many careers. Ben Revere, he was a fun player. Grady Sizemore kind of towards the end. Fanatic showing up in every one of these sets is his opening day card. Tony Gwynn Jr. Luis Garcia. Then finally, the run of white borders kind of came to an end with 2015. I actually really like the 15 design with the two-tone coloring. Of course, they used red for the Phillies, and different teams had different stuff. Some neat cards here. Short print of the Rally Squirrel, who's the worst. The Rally Squirrel didn't really help the Phillies. Chase Utley short print there. Cool little card. There's also an Utley Chrome card that I tossed in. The base Topps card's the one all the way to the top right. Or that might be the team set one, actually. There's a bunch of Utleys, as you can see. This is actually the base card. Really cool Jimmy Rollins breaking the record, the all-time hits record there with Mike Schmidt. Odubel Herrera gets a rookie card, so you're starting to see the players that are active now. You're seeing the end of Carlos Ruiz and towards the end of Ryan Howard. Every now and then I'll include some inserts. Jim Eisenreich is technically an insert, but thought it was appropriate to put in here. But you can see the team is breaking down. Sean O'Sullivan, Jerome Williams, and Aaron Harang are probably not guys you want in your rotation if you're looking to make some postseason noise. Andres Blanco, probably the Fanatics, the biggest star here. Though Cliff Lee, he did have some great seasons once he came back to the Phils. Jeff Francoeur was just a fun guy, had some success with the Phillies. Just a super nice guy you could easy to root for. 2016 marked the end of the Borders. Brought us Aaron Nola's rookie card. Then a few other guys here can go off. Darnell Sweeney on that top left. Played for the Phillies for a portion of a season. He was actually who the Phillies acquired in the Chase Utley trade. Alec Asher down on the bottom right. He was one of a number of players that was acquired in the Cole Hamels trade. So you can see not as many veterans left. Howard is top right. Got the Fanatic and Aaron Altair and Cole Hamels highlight. That's from his no-hitter in his final start with the Phillies. Charlie Morton had a cup of coffee with the Phillies. Unfortunately, was injured and then lost in free agency following that. He's turned into a great pitcher. See some variations here with the Cesar Hernandez number 42 card. And then a few final cards here, which also include the Topps Now run. I've been adding the Topps Now for the last 2 years because I figure why not? Easily accessible. And to me, they're really a huge mark in history for a team. A lot of cool moments. So I thought they'd look great in with this binder. So you got anything from a number 1 draft pick signing to Chase Utley returning to Philadelphia to call-up cards like Jake Thompson, who was one of the guys acquired in the Hamels trade, to walk-off wins by Jimmy Paredes. He'll never have another Phillies card, so to me, it's just kind of a cool way to do honor to some of these guys who are short-term Phillies. Here's a 2017 set. Howie Kendrick had 1 year with the Phils. Jared Eichhoff, full of ability, just unfortunately injured. Pat Neshek, baseball collecting and autograph legend. And then a lot of guys who did not spend a lot of time in Philadelphia, from Joaquin Benoit, who's in his 40s when he was with the Phils, to Brock Stassi, to Peter Borges. It's a long video, guys. Some other guys who weren't around tremendously long, but you have guys like Aaron Nola and Roman Quinn who have some talent for sure. And then some rookies in Topps Update like Nick Pivetta. Get some more Topps Now cards. Of course, he had the run with Rhys Hoskins, so that was fun to follow towards the end of a pretty tough season for the Phillies. Then they make spring training sets. There's Ty Kelly on the top left card. Another guy. Was only with the Phillies for a short while. You're not going to see Topps cards of him, so it's kind of neat. The Topps Now product allows you to get guys like that in a Phil's uniform. So there's a final Rhys Hoskins. So we've come to the conclusion in 2018 Topps. It's a nice set. I actually enjoy the look of these cards a lot. Gotta love that Hoskins rookie. I hope 15 years from now, doing an update video, and Hoskins is still around. We'll see. 15 might be pushing it, maybe 10. but Nola, who's had an incredible year, and some other young players here with a lot of promise. It'll just be interesting to see what happens in the future top sets. Will these guys continue to be made as Phillies, or will they move on? But a really nice set here. I do include certain cards like that are variations again. The Nick Williams, Hoskins, and Nola are photo variations. There are some super short prints. I am looking to pick them up at a certain point if I can get them at a reasonable price. There's the last few cards from Series 2. Jake Arrieta, Scott Kingery, and Victor Arano. Of course, Topps update will be out shortly, and those will be added to these sheets, and hopefully another page. And of course, you have a few more Topps Now cards, some big-time victories, some early accomplishments. A lot of neat stuff, great moments. The Fanatic being celebrated, amazing plays in the outfield by Duba Herrera. Jake Arrieta's early dominance this season. Trevor Plouffe, down in the bottom right corner. Another guy who was a Philly for like 3 weeks. Did hit a walk-off homer, though. He's a guy who made an impact on the season and on the franchise, so I'm happy to have a card. Some players' weekend cards. Then a few guys who may or may not be back, but as Drew Rule Cabrera and Wilson Ramos. And that's it, guys. That is 7 decades of Topps baseball cards. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I certainly enjoyed making it. I enjoyed putting together this set. I do encourage those out there who are huge baseball fans, who are baseball card collectors. If you guys are into cards, I would strongly suggest trying to do this project. Listen, the Phillies been around a long time. They're 7-decade team, so it's a lot of cards. If you're a Yankees fan, you're going to have a lot of money in the bank to do that, obviously. There's a lot of very expensive Yankees cards. But I would say most teams are achievable. A lot of the vintage, especially if you're not overly worried about condition, as long as you get it a nice card that appeals well in the binder, you can do it. It might take you a few years, but I think it would be an amazing process. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it, and you'll be absolutely thrilled when the project is complete. If you're a modern team, you're a fan of a modern team that's only been around 20 to 40 years, hey, I think you could do it pretty quickly. So guys, comment below, let me know what you think of the legacy of Topps, this Phillies set, and I hope you guys enjoyed the reveal of the ultimate Phillies Topps team set. Have yourselves a great one.